Good morning. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2026. This is the Urban Hope Refuge Morning Devotions. We are continuing our reading today from the 2026 Daily Bible Reading Guide published by the American Bible Society. For the month of August, we are reading under the theme God's Surprising Word, Trusting in God's Mercy and Providence. Today, we are reading from the book of Job. And those of you who have been following our morning devotion know that on Friday of last week, Lady Gilbert introduced to us the book of Job, beginning in chapter 1. She also shared that over the next 10 days, we are going to be reading from the book of Job. She introduced it to us through chapters 1 and 2. From Friday through yesterday, Sunday morning, with the morning devotion extension. I am picking up in chapter 19 of the book of Job. Now, the rest of this week, we're going to be reading about Job. Lady Wallace, Elder Martin, and Sister Sherry Young will be reading this week, and Friday, Lady Gilbert will be back. We will end on day 10 in the 42nd chapter of Job. But let's look at where we are in chapter 19. Now, the passage that I'm reading today is Job 19, verses 13 through 27. And it is one of the most powerful passages in the book of Job. Job is suffering deeply. He feels abandoned by everyone around him, yet moves from describing his own pain to declaring his confidence that God will ultimately vindicate him. Let's dive in. Verse 13 in the New Living Translation. My relatives stay far away, and my friends have turned against me. My family is gone, and my close friends have forgotten me. My servants and maids consider me a stranger. I am like a foreigner to them. When I call my servant, he doesn't come. I have to plead with him. My breath is repulsive to my wife. I am rejected by my own family. Even young children despise me. When I stand to speak, they turn their backs on me. My closest friends detest me. Those I love have turned against me. I have been reduced to skin and bones, and have escaped death by the skin of my teeth. Have mercy on me, my friends. Have mercy, for the hand of God has struck me. Must you also persecute me like God does? Haven't you chewed me up enough? Oh, that my words could be recorded. Oh, that they could be inscribed on a monument, carved with an iron chisel and filled with lead, engraved forever in the rock. But as for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and he will stand upon the earth at last. And after my body has decayed, yet in my body I will see God. I will see him for myself. Yes, I will see him with my own eyes. I am overwhelmed at the thought. This concludes our reading for today of Job, chapter 19, verses 13 through 27, under the theme God's surprising word, trusting in God's mercy and providence. And I want to focus the remainder of this devotion around verse 25, which says, I know my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. There are so many times when God's word speaks that is surprising because it comes in the middle of circumstances that do not look like the promise he has given us. Job is one of those people. Job had been blessed, he was prosperous, he was respected, and he was surrounded by what appeared to be a loving family. Then suddenly his world fell apart. He lost his possessions, he lost his children, he lost his health, his reputation, and he lost the support of those closest to him. Yet in chapter 19, listen now, while he is still suffering, Job makes an extraordinary declaration. He said, I know that my Redeemer lives. Now listen, Job did not say, I understand everything. I know why this is happening. But Job said, I know that my Redeemer lives. And this, my friends, is the heart of trusting God's mercy and God's providence. We may not understand God's plans, but we can trust God's character. I say that all the time. We can trust God's character. In verses 13 through 19, Job experienced the pain of feeling forsaken. Have you ever been there? Job describes how everyone seems to have withdrawn from him. His brothers are far away. His relatives have failed him. His friends have forgotten him. Even his servants would no longer respond to him, and those closest to him had turned away. You can imagine the loneliness that he felt. You may be able to identify that for yourself. But Job is not simply suffering physically. He is experiencing relational and emotional suffering. Have you ever been there? Sometimes the most painful part of a difficult season is not the situation itself, but feeling like nobody understands what you're going through. Well, Job teaches us that faith does not require us to pretend that everything is okay. I said this on Saturday morning in our 8 a.m. New England Upper Room prayer over in the church at Urban Hope Refuge, that faith does not require us to pretend that everything is okay. So Job says essentially to God, I'm hurting. I feel alone. I need compassion. And as we apply this to ourselves, know that there is nothing wrong with acknowledging your pain. You can love God and still say to Him, Lord, this hurts. Lord, I don't understand. Lord, I feel alone. And Lord, I need you. Faith does not mean denying the pain. Faith means bringing the pain to God. In verses 20 and 22 through 22, Job asked for mercy. Job cried out, have pity upon me. Have pity upon me, O ye my friends. This is important because Job's friends had spent much of their time trying to explain Job's suffering. He must have sinned. You did something to make God angry. That's what they did rather than comforting him, showing him mercy. Job didn't need another accusation. What he needed was mercy. And there are times in our lives that what we need is mercy. Before we try to explain someone's suffering, we need to learn how to sit with them in their suffering. We must be careful not to assume that someone's difficulty means that God is punishing them. Jesus demonstrated compassion toward hurting people throughout his ministry on earth and even now. As believers, we are called to be people who extend mercy. Why? Because we have received mercy. Ask yourself, am I more interested in explaining the person's problem, or am I more interested in helping carry that burden? Sometimes the ministry someone needs most is simply to hear, I'm here. I love you. I'm praying for you. You don't have to walk through this alone. In verses 23 through 24, Job's circumstances were changing, but his faith was increasing. Job says, oh, that my words were now written. Oh, in our language, that it could be printed in a book. Job wanted his testimony to be preserved. Why? Because Job understands that what he is experiencing, please get this now, what he is experiencing is not his whole story. His present circumstance cannot be allowed to define the final testimony of his life, and neither can yours. This is important for us because we may be in a chapter of our life right now that we would have never chosen for ourselves. But listen, a chapter is not the whole book. Our present struggle does not have the authority to write our final testimony. Don't forget that. Our present struggle does not have the authority to write our final story. God gets the final word. It is His mercy and His providence. But let me close. Oh my. In verse 25, Job makes the greatest declaration. Then comes one of the most powerful statements in Scripture. For I know that my Redeemer lives. Job moves from what he feels to what he knows. He felt abandoned, but he knew that his Redeemer lived. He didn't understand all of the circumstances, but he knew that his Redeemer lives. So do I, and so do you. This can be our declaration as well. I know that my Redeemer lives. Now I challenge you to pray your way through the day. Walk with the King and be a blessing.